Who would like to take 23? Let's see here, 23.
I can take 23.
Yeah, if you'll take 23. And Debbie, you got 24, and Ronnie, you got 25.
All right, hold tight.
Okay.
There's Becky on her way to school. Becky, how many more days of school y'all got left, Becky?
The 27th. We get out May 27th.
Then it's vacation time, girl.
Not too many, 15.
All right,
It
Leviticus
doesn't seem like
23.
much of a vacation.
There you go. Okay, so here's our order. Randy's got 23, and Debbie's got 24, and Ronnie's got 25. Let's rock, and we get into the numbers on Wednesday. Let's rock and roll.
Seasons and festivals. The Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. These are the Lord's appointed festivals, which you are to proclaim as official days of holy assembly. You have 6 days each week for an ordinary work, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath for a complete rest. An official day of holy assembly is the Lord's Sabbath day, and it must be observed wherever you live. In addition to the Sabbath, these are the Lord's appointed festivals, the official days for holy assembly that are to be celebrated at their proper times each year. Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The Lord's Passover begins at sundown on the 14th day of the first month. On the next day, the 15th day of the month, you must begin celebrating the festival of unleavened bread. This festival to the Lord continues 7 days, and during that time, the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, all the people must stop their ordinary work and observe an official day of holy assembly. For 7 days, you must present special gifts to the Lord. On the 7th day, the people must again stop all their ordinary work to observe an official day for holy assembly. Celebration of first harvest. The Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you enter the land I am giving you, and you harvest its first crops, bring the priest a bundle of grain from the first cutting of your grain harvest. On the day after the Sabbath, the priest will lift it up before the Lord, so it may be accepted on your behalf. On that day, you must sacrifice a 1-year-old lamb with no defects as a burnt offering to the Lord. With it, you must present a grain offering consisting of 4 quarts of choice flour moistened with olive oil. It will be a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. You must also offer 1 quart of wine as liquid offering. Do not eat any bread or roast grain or fresh kernels on that day until you bring this offering to your God. This is permanent law for you, and you must observe from generation to generation wherever you live. The festival of the harvest. From the day of the Sabbath, the day you bring the bundle of grain to be lifted up as a special offering, count off 7 full weeks. Keep counting until the day after the 7th Sabbath, 50 days later. Then present an offering of new grain to the Lord. From wherever you live, bring 2 loaves of bread to be lifted up before the Lord as special offerings. Make these loaves from 4 quarts of choice flour and bake them with yeast. This will be an offering to the Lord from the first of your crops. Along with the bread, present 7 1-year-old lambs with no defects, 1 young bull, and 2 rams as burnt offerings to the Lord. These burnt offerings, together with the grain offerings and liquid offerings, will be a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Then you must offer 1 male goat as a sin offering and 2 1-year-old male lambs as a peace offering. The priest will lift up the 2 lambs as a special offering to the Lord. Together with the loaves representing the first of your crops, these offerings, which are holy to the Lord, belong to the priest. That same day will be proclaimed the official day for holy assembly, a day in which you do no ordinary work. This is permanent law for you. It must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live. When you harvest the crops of your land, do not harvest the grain along the edges of your field, and do not pick up the harvester's drop. Leave it for the poor and the foreigners living among you. I am the Lord your God. The Festival of Trumpets, verse 23. The Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. On the first day of the appointed month in early autumn, you are to observe a day of complete rest. It will be an official day for Holy Assembly, a day commemorated with loud blasts from the trumpet. You must do no ordinary work on that day. Instead, you are to present special gifts to the Lord. The Day of Atonement. Then the Lord said to Moses, be careful to celebrate the Day of Atonement on the 10th day of that same month. 9 days after the Festival of Trumpets, you must observe it as an official day for Holy Assembly, a day to deny yourselves and present special gifts to the Lord. Do not work during that entire day because it is a day of atonement when offerings of purification are made for you, making you right with the Lord your God. And who do not deny themselves that day will be cut off from God's people. And I will destroy anyone among you who does any work on that day. You must not do any work at all. This is permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live. This will be a Sabbath day of complete rest for you. And on that day, you must deny yourselves. This day of rest will begin at sundown on the 9th day of the month and is still till sundown on the 10th day. The Festival of Shelters. And the Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Begin celebrating the Festival of Shelters on the 15th day of the appointed month, 5 days after the Day of Atonement. This festival to the Lord will last for 7 days. On the first day of the festival, you must proclaim an official day for Holy Assembly, when you will do no ordinary work. For 7 days, you must present special gifts to the Lord. The 8th day is another holy day on which you present your special gifts to the Lord. This will be a solemn occasion, and no ordinary work may be done on that day. These are the Lord's appointed festivals. Celebrate them each year as official days for Holy Assembly by presenting special gifts to the Lord, burnt offerings, grain offerings, sacrifices, and liquid offerings, each on its proper day. These festivals must be observed in addition to the Lord's regular Sabbath days, and the offerings are in addition to your personal gifts. The offerings you give to fulfill your vows and the voluntary offerings you present to the Lord. Remember that this 7-day festival to the Lord, the Festival of Shelters, begins on the 15th day of the appointed month, after you have harvested all the produce of the land. The first day of the 8th day of the magnificent trees, fronds, boughs of leafy trees, and willows that grow from the stems. Then celebrate with joy before the Lord your God for 7 days. You must observe this festival to the Lord for 7 days every year. This is permanent law for you, and it must be observed in an appointed month from generation to generation. For 7 days, you must live outside in little shelters. All native-born Israelites must live in shelters. This will remind each new generation of Israelites that I made their ancestors live in shelters when I rescued them from the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So Moses gave the Israelites these instructions regarding the annual festivals of the Lord. Chapter 23.
That was a long chapter there, but it's once again, he's laying out his guidelines, and that's what I call them, the guidelines. Brother Bill, didn't you say that Festival of Shelters, they do that over in Israel even to this day? They'll build shelters in their yards. Your microphone's not on.
Yeah, they do it actually in the United States, in the town where I have lived the last 34 years. The festival called Sukkot is usually held in the September-October timeframe. Yes, they construct these makeshift shelters in the backyard, and that's where they sleep overnight for 7 days.
I never heard of that one. Now the Festival of the Unleavened Bread reminds Israel of their escape from Egypt. For 7 days, they ate unleavened bread, just as they had eaten back in the Exodus. Remember, we read that whenever we was reading earlier about when they left how they had to eat the leavened bread. And remember, they collected it, the manna off of the leaves and everything of that nature. But first, because the bread was unique, it illustrated Israel's uniqueness as a nation. Second, because yeast was a symbol of sin. The yeastless bread represented Israel's moral purity. Third, the baking method reminded them to obey quickly. Their ancestors left the yeast out of their dough so they could leave Egypt quickly. But notice here in this festival that Randy read to us about, the festival of the harvest, they cooked 2 loaves with yeast. Did y'all catch that?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the second time we see where they actually use yeast. So that I found that kind of strange. Anybody else got anything? And Debbie, you're up.
Okay, chapter 24, pure oil and honey bread.
Holy bread.
Exodus 24.
Honey bread
I mean,
sounds good,
pure
Andy,
bread.
but it's holy
What did I
bread.
say? Holy bread, I mean, pure
You
oil.
said
and
honey bread.
and honey bread. Well, that sounds good. Holy bread, I'm sorry. The Lord said to Moses, command the people of the Israels to bring pure oil of pressed olives for the light to keep the lamps burning continually. This is the lampstand, the stand in the tabernacle in front of the inner curtain that shields the ark of the covenant. Aaron must keep the lamp burning in the Lord's presence all night. This is permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generations to generation. Aaron the priest must tend the lamps on the pure gold lampstand continuously in the Lord's presence. You must bake 12 loaves of bread from choice flour, using 4 quarts of flour for each loaf. Place the bread before the Lord on the pure gold table, and arrange the loaves in 2 rows with 6 loaves in each row. Put some frankincense near each row to serve as a representative, offering a special gift presented to the Lord. Every Sabbath day, this bread must be laid out before the Lord. The bread is to be received from the people of Israel as a requirement of the eternal covenant. The loaves of bread will belong to Aaron and his descendants, who must eat them in a scarce place, for they are mostly holy. It is a permanent right of the priest to claim this portion of the special gifts presented to the Lord. An example of just punishment. One day, a man who had an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father came out of his tent and got into a fight with one of the Israelite men. During the fight, this son of the Israelite woman blasphemed the name of the Lord with a curse. So the man was brought to Moses for judgment. His mother was Shelomith, the daughter of Devi of the tribe of Dan. They kept the man in custody until the Lord's will in the matter should become clear to them. Then the Lord said to Moses, take the blasphemer outside the camp and tell all those who heard the curse to lay their hands on his head. Then let the entire community stone him to death. Say to the people of Israel, those who curse their God will be punished for their sin. Anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be stoned to death by the whole community of Israel. Any native born of Israelite or foreigner among you who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be put to death. Anyone who takes another person's life must be put to death. Anyone who kills another person's animal must pay for it in full, a live animal for the animals that was killed. Anyone who injures another person must be dealt with according to the injury inflicted. A fracture for a fracture, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Whatever anyone does to injure another person must be paid back in kind. Whoever kills an animal must pay for it in full, but whoever kills another person must be put to death. The same standard applies both to native-born Israelites and to foreigners living among you. I am the Lord your God. After Moses gave all these instructions to the Israelites, they took the blasphemer outside the camp and stoned him to death. The Israelites did just as the Lord had commanded Moses. the Sabbath, wait, no, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So once again, we see here,
Woo.
let me tell you, God don't play.
No,
He tells you what it is, and either you adhere to it or you pay the price. So now this blasphemy thing, I think we kind of discussed this before. When they say blasphemy, what does that actually mean to y'all?
We're using the Lord's name in vain.
absolutely.
So if you say, I swear to God, is that using the Lord's name in vain?
No, that's a promise. I mean, when you,
Because
you
Ashley,
when you're
my wife is
invoking
big on that.
anger, when you're invoking anger by using the Lord's name, by it's an abuse of the Lord's name. You're not thanking God, you're not praising God, you're not worshiping God. Your blasphemy is sacrilegious. You're invoking some kind of a curse on God or against one of God's people.
Or against one of his people.
Yeah,
Now I can see that. I
Right.
just, Ashley, if you say I swear, well, she will go off. Don't say, I'm telling you now, don't let me hear you say that. She takes that, and I'm like, I guess I've just always wondered, because I just figured anybody that used the curse word that we all think of, or something like that, or to me, that's was always using the Lord's name in vain. Or if you speak negative of God, that would be using the Lord. That's what just my thoughts. I've never really had somebody say this is using the Lord's name in vain. But right here, he tells us, if you're a blasphemer of God, then you should be killed.
There was a guy that I knew growing up, a man, a friend of my father's, who would catch himself in the middle of taking God's name in vain, and he would say, cheese and crackers. Did you hear what I just
Yeah.
said? Cheese and crackers. So, but he was actually going to be saying something else. It was his way of catching himself in the middle of a fit of anger, just kind of the momentary, feeling of rage to catch himself. Cheese and crackers. And another one I knew was, let's see, I've heard a woman, matter of fact, Hillary Clinton. She was surprised on TV when being interviewed on 60 Minutes, I think. She and her husband, a lamp fell. One of the big lamps that used to light up the interview room. And she said, Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. Anybody else happen to watch that particular interview?
I've seen that.
Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. Well, it's like that's the way she caught herself about to use the Lord's name in vain, similar to cheese and crackers,
Let me ask y'all something.
because it's something that just
Yeah.
manifests itself when you're not expecting it.
When you're having a conversation
Anyway,
or with somebody and they're constantly using the Lord's name in vain, how do y'all go about addressing that? Because I'm in an industry that's just I ain't gonna say it's common, but it's just a lot of people are uneducated, and that's the way they talk. How do y'all address that without overstepping your boundaries and of coming up as a I ain't gonna say a Jesus
Bible
freak or a
thumper.
holy roller, but hey, please refrain from using that in my presence. I mean, how do y'all address that?
I think, Randy, so much is just like anything else. It's all in the delivery. Now, my old delivery used to be very, very, very bad. But it's all in delivery. Today, if someone did that in front of me, I just feel an obligation to stand up for my Lord and Savior. So, and the way that I would approach it today is, even if I didn't know the person, I think that it's important to get close. I think it's important to lay hands, and it's the way you do it. You have to be. I think you have to be very careful. But if I had someone say this to me, I'd want to say, "Hey, brother, I just want you to know I love you, and I can appreciate everything you're saying, but that hurts my heart when you say that." And if he continued to say it, that he just continues to say it. I stood up. That's me, though. If you approach it, hey man, I appreciate if you don't say that. That's going to offend somebody.
Yep.
But what I've learned over my lifetime is when you come at somebody from a loving aspect, most people will be respectful.
Right.
Well, that's
Most-
like my cousin. You know Freddie Tommy. Every
Tommy.
word that came out, Tommy Jones, every word, GDG. I said, Tommy, you've got to quit saying that word. It's a sin. You can't go to heaven. You've got to stop. You've got to stop. He said, well, and he explained to me, he said, when he was in Vietnam and around all the men, like Randy said, it was, he didn't realize he was just constantly, every mouth. And when he'd say it, I just want to grab my hand and then he'd say, I'm sorry. Well, I quit going around him so much because it was just tearing me ahead. Now all of his family is saying, his boys, everybody, every time you go around there, it's, and I'm going, Lord. So it's just crazy, but you got to, I tried to tell Tommy all the time, please, Tom, please. And I said, Tommy, if you're ever dying somewhere, you better ask the Lord to forgive you. And of course, he had a stroke and laid on the floor all night. So I'm hoping Tommy had time to ask for forgiveness. That's all I can say.
I think it's all about our delivery, and the
Right.
question is do you say something?
Yes.
Randy, how do you handle it? You're in that area. Do you either get away or?
That's the problem is I haven't been handling. I haven't said anything. I've been silent, which has been I've been being convicted of that, and that's what I'm asking.
Randy Cersei being silent.
Yes.
Hey,
I
what?
mean, I just
Put you in a
I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like, I just don't want to deliver it the wrong way. That's my whole point. And
Well, that's the whole thing.
And
Is
how
how
I-
delivery.
and how I, go about that. I just be silent, and I'm not talking to them long enough to come back 10 minutes later and say something.
Let me ask you a big question, Randy. Do you love them?
Oh, yes. Mhm.
But do they know that you love them?
Probably
That may
not.
be your opportunity to tell them you love them. And here's the deal. There's going to be some, and good and well, some of them are going to take it wrong no matter how you deliver.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to take it wrong. But it's just like, and I don't know that I told y'all this. About 2 weeks ago, we went to a thing at the lake, and it was a worship thing, and they had music and everything. And maybe I told y'all. Y'all tell me if I did, so I don't go through the story. But as I was there, I felt a strong urge to pray with people. So there was this old black woman, and she was with her daughter, and that daughter had 5 kids. And that I sent Meyer to go pay for all their snow cones and everything. And when the older woman was there by herself, I went up to her and I just asked her, could I pray with her? And I prayed for her daughter is what I did. And so I went to the restroom, and there was 2 city workers that were sitting in a truck by the porta-johns. And it was just on my heart. And I walked over to them, trying to be bold, because I'm not afraid to be bold. And I said, hey, gentlemen, I said, would you, number one, I thank y'all. I thank y'all for being out here to clean up, because they were cleaning up the facilities and all that. I thank y'all for the service that y'all are doing for our community. Thank you so much. Would y'all mind if I prayed with y'all? They laughed at me and said, no.
Wow.
I said, I understand. But once again, my delivery was, I understand, and I'm going to respect you, but understand something. I'm going to walk away. But as I walk away, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to thank God for you and your family, and just know that I love you. I care about you, and I'm so appreciative of you. And one of them was like he acted like he was a thug gang member. And the older guy, I think if the older guy would have been by himself, he would have received it.
Yeah.
But it's easy when you're around other people. to stay in the bottoms. But so I walked away. But as I walked away, I prayed for them. And when I got down to the end, I asked two other members of our church to pray with me because it hurt me. Now, they would have never known that it hurt me, but it hurt me because I wanted them to feel what I felt, you know. But I think so much, Randy, just like you were saying, it's all in our delivery, you know. But I think we have a responsibility to stand up, you know, and I think we fear that they're going to think we're a Bible thumper or something like that, you know. But I think that's being bold, you know. But once again, we have to realize our environment and our job, just like Uncle Tommy over in Vietnam, you know. This pain stuff, Ashley's been getting mad at me because let's just put it this way. I can say curse words with the best of them. There's some of them I don't say, okay? I can't remember, and just in all fairness, I don't think I can ever remember saying, I don't even like saying the initials, because to me, if you say the initials, you're saying the same thing, you're thinking it. So, but that bad word that starts with F lately has become when I'm falling to the ground or like Grayson walked up behind me and kind of gigged me yesterday, and Buddy Ashley has been going off on me. She's like, what is wrong with you? I said, I'm just letting my pain out. And so Grayson texted me a thing last night, how cursing actually relieves stress.
Really?
I'm not justifying. Please don't think I'm justifying. And I'm not going to break out here with no curse words or nothing. But Randy, thank you. That was a great conversation there. I appreciate that. So let's finish up with 25. Ronnie, you ready?
Yeah.
Good to see you this morning, Marlon.
Good morning.
I gotta run, Fred. I'm so sorry, but it's 8:30. We're going to North Carolina.
Hey, y'all
Bye.
be careful, Bill. Be careful.
God bless you guys. I'll be on tomorrow morning from
Love you.
sharp. God bless you. Bye-bye.
God bless you.
Leviticus 25, the Sabbath year. While Moses was on Mount Sinai, the Lord said to him, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you have entered the land I am giving you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath rest before the Lord every 7th year. For 6 years, you may plant your fields and prune your vineyards and harvest your crops. But during the 7th year, the land must have a Sabbath year of complete rest. It is the Lord's Sabbath. Do not plant your fields or prune your vineyards during that year, and don't store away the crops that grow on their own or gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. The land must have a year of complete rest, but you may eat whatever the land produces on its own during its Sabbath. This applies to you, your male and female servants, your hired workers, and your temporary residents who live with you. Your livestock and the wild animals in your land will also be allowed to eat what the land produces. The year of Jubilee. In addition, you must count off 7 Sabbath years, 7 sets of 7 years, adding up to 49 years in all. Then on the Day of Atonement in the 50th year, blow the ram's horn loud and long throughout the land. Set this year apart as holy, the time to proclaim freedom throughout the land for all who live there. It will be a Jubilee year for you, when each of you may return to the land that belonged to your ancestors and return to your own clan. This 50th year will be a Jubilee for you. During that year, you must not plant your fields or store away any of the crops that grow on their own, and don't gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. It will be a Jubilee year for you, and you must keep it holy. But you may eat whatever the land produces on its own. In the year of Jubilee, each of you may return to the land that belonged to your ancestors. When you make an agreement with your neighbor to buy or sell property, you must not take advantage of each other. When you buy land from your neighbor, the price you pay must be based on the number of years since the last Jubilee. The seller must set the price by taking into account the number of years remaining until the next year of Jubilee. The more years until the next Jubilee, the higher the price. The fewer years, the lower the price. After all, the person selling the land is actually selling you a certain number of harvests. Show your fear of God by not taking advantage of each other. I am the Lord your God. If you want to live securely in the land, follow my decrees and obey my regulations. Then the land will yield large crops, and you will eat your fill and live securely in it. But you might ask, what will we eat during the 7th year, since we are not allowed to plant or harvest crops that year? Be assured that I will send my blessing for you in the 6th year, so that the land will produce a crop large enough for 3 years. When you plant your fields in the 8th year, you will still be eating from the large crop of the 6th year. In fact, you will still be eating from that large crop when the new crop is harvested in the 9th year. Redemption of property. Land must never be sold on a permanent basis, for the land belongs to me. You are only foreigners and tenant farmers working for me. With every purchase of land, you must grant the seller the right to buy it back. If one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and is forced to sell some family land, then a close relative should buy it back for him. If there is no close relative to buy the land, but the person who sold it gets enough money to buy it back, he then has the right to redeem it from the one who bought it. The price of the land will be discounted according to the number of years until the next year of Jubilee. In this way, the original owner can then return to the land. But if the original owner cannot afford to buy back the land, it will remain with the new owner until the next year of Jubilee. In the Jubilee year, the land must be returned to the original owner so they can return it to their family land. Anyone who sells a house inside a walled town has the right to buy it back for a full year after its sale. During that year, the seller retains the right to buy it back. But if it is not bought back within the year, the sale of the house within the walled town cannot be reversed. It will become the permanent property of the buyer. It will not be returned to the original owner in the year of Jubilee. But a house in a village settlement without fortified walls will be treated like property in the countryside. Such a house may be bought back at any time, and it must be returned to the original owner in the year of Jubilee. The Levites always have the right to buy back a house they have sold within the towns allotted to them. And any property that is sold by the Levites, all houses within the Levitical towns, must be returned in the year of Jubilee. After all, the houses in the towns reserved for the Levites are the only property they own in all Israel. These open pasture land around the Levitical towns may never be sold. It is their permanent possession. Redemption of the poor and enslaved, verse 35. If one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and cannot support himself, support him as you would a foreigner or a temporary resident and allow him to live with you. Do not charge interest or make a profit at his expense. Instead, show your fear of God by letting him live with you as your relative. Remember, do not charge interest on money you lend him or make a profit on food you sell him. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. If one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and is forced to sell himself to you, do not treat him as a slave. Treat him instead as a hired worker or a temporary resident who lives with you, and he will serve you only until the year of Jubilee. At that time, he and his children will no longer be obligated to you, and they will return to their clans and go back to the land originally allotted to their ancestors. The people of Israel are my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt, so they must never be sold as slaves. Show your fear of God by not treating them harshly. However, you may purchase male and female slaves from among the nations around you. You may also purchase the children of temporary residents who live among you, including those who have been born in your land. You may treat them as your property, passing them on to your children as a permanent inheritance. You may treat them as slaves, but you must never treat your fellow Israelites this way. Suppose a foreigner or a temporary resident becomes rich while living among you. If any of your fellow Israelites fall into poverty and are forced to sell themselves to such a foreigner or to a member of his family, they still retain the right to be bought back, even after they have been purchased. They may be bought back by a brother, an uncle, a cousin. In fact, anyone from the extended family may buy them back. They may also redeem themselves if they have prospered. They will negotiate the price of their freedom with the person who bought them. The price will be based on the number of years from the time they were sold until the next year of Jubilee, whatever it would cost to hire a worker for that period of time. If many years still remain until the Jubilee, they will repay the proper proportion of what they received when they sold themselves. If only a few years remain until the year of Jubilee, they will repay a small amount for their redemption. The foreigner must treat them as workers hired on a yearly basis. You must not allow a foreigner to treat any of your fellow Israelites harshly. If any Israelites have not been bought back by the time of the year of Jubilee arrives, they and their children must be set free at that time. For the people of Israel belong to me. They are my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Leviticus 25.
You know, I've heard of this year of Jubilee for many, many years and really never understood even what it was till today. But it obviously was a big thing to do with the Bible. I didn't realize it had to even do with the Bible. But the year of Jubilee is a big thing. And I can remember reading all this, and we're going to read something here pretty soon where if your brother gives you a loan at the end of whatever time, it may be Jubilee, I'm not sure, but they have to wipe the debt clean. Now, Aunt Debbie knows my brother very well. Ronnie, you know Boyd very well. My brother, listen, my brother ain't wiping no debt free. He ain't reading this part of the Bible. He ain't playing this game.
No.
I thought that was funny. But so we went a little long today, and but just so everybody knows, we're a day ahead. We have actually moved a day ahead, and we're going to continue to do 1 or 2 chapters a day. So now that we're ahead, that's my whole life. I've always liked being ahead in life, and I probably wish I wouldn't have done that, because now I've wasted 10 minutes that we probably could have done tomorrow. But hey, anybody got anything else before we close out today?
Hey, Freddie,
Yes, sir.
our preacher, you know, that I go to Cowboy Church, you know that. But anyway, you know, he's a horseshoer, and on this recording on his phone, if you call him, and he'll say, if you're calling about horseshoeing or freeze branding, you know, leave a message. Otherwise, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I thought that was pretty cool.
Good.
Hey, you can't do anything about it, because he does, and it doesn't matter what you say or what you do. He loves every one of us. So, Brother Marlon, you might close us in prayer today. I'm putting you on the hot seat 2 times in a week, brother.
I'm not very good, but I'll give it my best.
No. This isn't about being good. You just you're good.
Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for many blessings, Lord. Lord, thank you for getting me in this Bible study. I need it so much, Lord. And Lord, be with our country and our leaders, and give them the wisdom to lead this country in the right direction to you, Lord. And Lord, thank you for the rain. We knew, you know, we need it. We think we don't, but you know, Lord, bless us in our daily lives. Ask us in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Hey, y'all have a great day. I love y'all.
Love you too.
Other
See you, man.
morning.
Hey,
Bye.
I got more out of Leviticus today than I have any day this year. So thank y'all.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Peace.